Anyway,
this will be old. This will be old news, but I'd love to. It's brand new news. I don't like to do the news because it gets old, but there's a MAGA candidate in Arizona. Did you hear about this?
Which one? Is this like the Blake Masters?
Well, it seems like a small. Let me read.
Okay, read it to me.
The headline.
To be honest with you, I can't keep track anymore.
Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board candidate. What's that? That's a lot of titles in there.
That's a.
He was in his truck masturbating in front of a grade school, so got arrested for that. He was taking up 3 parking spots, so it's like he had to pull over quick.
Well, okay. The masturbating in front of a grade school is one thing, but the taking up of 3 parking spaces, okay. Yes. Enough is enough.
I'm glad they got him.
And yet they'll still vote for him.
He withdrew. He withdrew. He's suspending his campaign. Let's say that. Suspending.
But he'll still be on the ballot, though.
I guess. I think if Pee Wee Herman lost his TV show for masturbating in public, he shouldn't get his.
Send Paul Rubens out there.
His community college district board governing, whatever his title was.
Wasn't Sheriff Joe Arpaio? That was Maricopa County too.
Oh.
Don't you remember
makes
Sheriff
sense.
Joe?
All makes sense. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's all coming together now, right?
I think he lost his. He tried to run. He was a what do you call it? The primary, and he lost the primary. I think.
Yeah, was he disqualified? I can't remember now.
Well, they got rid of him and charged him with something, and Trump uncharged him, and I can't remember.
But you know what? Remember Marion Barry? Okay, we're just so people don't think we're beating up on just on the Republican side. On the Democrat side, the mayor of Washington, D.C. was one Mr. Marion Barry.
I remember.
Who resigned in disgrace as mayor of Washington, D.C. What was this, like 1989 maybe? Was caught on camera smoking crack. Caught on camera. Chris Rock did a whole spiel on this. Chris Rock did a brilliant stand-up bit on this. Caught on camera smoking crack in a pipe. Next election, he resigned in disgrace. And I think it might have been the next mayoral election.
That's right.
He ran again, and he got elected.
It's the Seti Bimco Show with your hosts, Tim and John. This week, John gets a raise, but then he gets fired. But then he changed his name and wore another person's skin and got hired again. And now he goes by the name Johnny.
But anyway, this is the Seti Bimco Show. It is a show where we talk about the humorous tragedies and drama of high school in real life and in some crappy movies. We've gone through Halloween without too many guests, but I promise I'll get another one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think people mind with it just being you and I speaking every week, though. A guest is always nice to have, and I've loved the guests that we've had.
Yes.
But sometimes I just like sitting here and talking to my old friend Tim.
Yes.
Well, and I think we try. We try.
We try to talk.
We do our best. Gosh darn it, we do our best every week.
I'm going to say some things before I forget. Thank you to Corey Corcoran. Did you get your Scree magazine? I did. I
got my Screezine. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yeah, Screezine is how you pronounce it, correct? Okay. Yes, I got my copy. I do not have it at hand. It may be sitting on my desk, but that's okay. Your interview was fantastic.
Okay. Well, thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey. And I have read it, and it's actually a very good. Does he have a website? I need to go on and find out if I can subscribe to it and get it sent to my house
his website once. I'll find it later. I'll put it in.
Okay, yeah, maybe we could promote that a little more. No, it was very well, and I got a little you get your little bumper sticker thingy too. Did he send you one of those?
Sorry, I'm looking for his. It's Grumpus. Grumpus. Well, you can email him at Grumpus USA. Oh, do I? No, I don't want to give his email out. Just his website. I'll find it later.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't want crazy
Grunpus. Yeah, he doesn't want crazy people.
emailing him.
Like, I noticed he didn't put a return address on my envelope because he's like, I don't know who this guy is, you know?
Really? He didn't?
No, there's no return address. I didn't find it. Maybe it's on the envelope somewhere.
He gave me a SACE. There's a word no one knows. No one knows that.
A self-addressed stamp envelope. That's hilarious. Did he send it COD? Did he send it COD? How many people know that? Two words from the 70s, SACE
George
and
O'Connor
COD.
scratching his head. So, anything happened to you that you wish to talk about? Since I know you had a busy
I just want
week.
to touch on a couple little things. I know we don't like to talk about current headlines, and but we have recently lost country great Miss Loretta Lynn.
That's right.
And the only reason I bring it up was because actually she released an album, I believe, in 2018, which I actually really, really enjoyed. It was kind of bluesy influenced. And
interesting.
Anyway, I can't think of the title off the top of my head right now. But I remember being 14 years old, and that movie Coal Miner's Daughter came out.
Yeah. With
Miss Sissy Spacek, who won the Academy Award for Best Actress for it. Mm-hmm. And all I remember at that time knowing Loretta Lynn from was, remember when she did the Crisco commercials? Crisco, do you proud every time.
Now that you say that, I remember that. I forgot.
She just, all of a sudden there'd be Loretta Lynn in her kitchen in Tennessee. And I think Doolittle was there with her in the background. And she'd talk about how it helped your pie crust and it helped your fried chicken. And Crisco, do you proud every time. And all I remember thinking is this movie coming out and my 14-year-old self thinking, why did they make a movie about the Crisco lady?
Right.
And oddly enough, not one mention of the making of the Crisco commercials in the movie.
Not one mention?
Not one mention. No behind-the-scenes look on how they made the Crisco commercials.
Cut out.
In the beginning, it's probably on the cutting room floor somewhere.
I did look up the name of that album you got. It's called Loretta Lynn's Last Album. Sorry, bad joke.
It was a bad joke, Tim, but
I'm sorry she's gone.
I knew immediately. Yeah, she doesn't care anymore. She doesn't care.
I hope she has a sense of humor.
I hope so, too. I think
I'm laughing with her.
I saw, yeah. I just had this vision of, like, I don't know, her casket being draped in, like, gingham and, like, frilly lace. I don't know why. Right. Those are the outfits she used to wear. Like, the outfit she used to wear on Hee Haw or something like that. I don't know. And, other than that. Okay. Oh, and just one quick thing. I don't know what's going on with my neighbor. His next court appearance was supposed to be when I was away. So I haven't seen an update about him. So I have no clue what's going on. Apparently his apartment cannot be rented.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But anyway.
Well, technically, if he's innocent, it's his apartment. Like I agree. If someone...
Yeah.
You can't just get rid of the apartment if they're like, well, they arrested me for a month and I'm innocent.
Section 8 is still paying for it, then I guess, the landlord doesn't care. So I don't know.
And to follow up, if you're not a regular listener, I'm going to follow up on a story from last week. My wife and I often will eat breakfast Saturday morning at a restaurant where we can bring our dog and sit outside. And it was a little chilly last time, but last week I explained that the crew in the kitchen, not the waitstaff, the crew in the kitchen dubbed me the Eggman.
The Eggman.
I said, I don't know why. Don't know why they call me that, because it's breakfast. There's eggs on every dish on the menu. It's not like I'm the only one that orders eggs. But
have you ever sent your egg back? You ordered a 3-minute egg and it was a 5-minute egg. You're like, this is a 5-minute egg. I can tell. Send that back. I want a 3-minute egg, not 3 minutes and 1 second. 3 minutes. Do you ever do that?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Oh, see, there you go. That's why they call
maybe
you
that's
the
why.
Eggman. That's why they call you the
Eggman.
That egg was done for 3 minutes and 22 seconds. I said a 3-minute egg. If I wanted a 3-minute and 22-second egg, I would have ordered a 3-minute and 22-second egg. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your story. Go ahead, Tim.
I thought they called me the Eggman from the years I spent being a door-to-door egg salesman. But anyway. Oh, yeah.
Speaking of eggs.
Yeah? Okay.
Speaking of eggs, I notice at work, because, my job is, and again, I work for a major retailer based in Bentonville, Arkansas. And my job is, and it is not as glamorous as it sounds, so don't anybody be jealous out there in podcast land. But I am in the online order department. I have to gather all the stuff to get together for the online orders.
Okay.
And I noticed that brown eggs are more expensive than white eggs.
They don't bleach them.
However, as I recall on Little House on the Prairie, if Caroline Ingalls showed up with brown eggs, didn't Mrs. Olson pay her less for the brown eggs than the white eggs? I seem to recall that.
I can't remember that.
I do recall that. She would pay less for the brown eggs, and now brown eggs are worth more.
Well, yeah. Or that show was just, deep-seated racism that runs through Hollywood.
It wasn't a racist program, Tim. They just didn't let black people on it.
Ugh. Yep.
There was no racism. There were no black people around to be racist against.
Like Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm going back to... Let me finish my egg story.
I'm sorry.
So we go to this restaurant again where the people in the kitchen call him the Eggman. New wait staff. And I'm like, can I have it's called the name of the restaurant. We'll say Allen's. I don't want to name them. I said, I'll just have the Allen's breakfast. And I wasn't thinking, it's a new woman, new person. She comes back out and she says, yeah, that's not on the menu, which it's not. They do it for me. I'm like, oh yeah, it's not on the menu. And I was like, I sighed and I wasn't upset with her, but I was like, just tell them the Eggman is here and they'll get my breakfast right. And she went in and when she came out later, she's like, oh yeah, all good. Now they know what's going on.
And sure enough, I wonder if it's like, oh, here comes the Eggman, or oh, here comes the Eggman.
Yeah,
I wonder what
I'm worried about. That's all I got. I watched the Mexican episode of British Bake Off, and you have Netflix, so you can check it out. You said you got Netflix.
I haven't seen it yet. Was it as offensive?
Well. I'm just like, it's kind of silly. They made Mexican wedding cakes, and one man made a nice cake with like splashing different colored frosting on it. And then he's like, oh, it's got to be Mexican. Can you guess? He put a giant black mustache on the cake, which didn't go with what he did. And I'm like, what? That's your, now it's Mexican.
Did you put a mustache on it?
Just kind of a head scratcher to me. Anyway. And Carol was peeling. Everybody was upset with this. I feel bad for Carol. I'm laughing with her if she's listening. I know she's listening.
Of course she's listening.
She was peeling an avocado the way you peel a potato, with a potato peeler.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, anyway. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter because,
I don't.
The English are just going to overboil any vegetable they get anyway. So what all she's going to do is throw it in a pot of water. And, sorry, Dirk Feelgood, if you're listening.
Let's try to get through the movie in half an hour.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
There's not much to the plot. But you picked it, so you give the synopsis.
Sure,
Can you do it?
The movie is called Teenagers from Outer Space from 1959.
Because this show's about teenagers.
Yes, and okay. So I picked this movie because it was Teenagers from Outer Space, yet I don't think there was one teenager in the movie.
I know.
Because
we all know that.
Anyway.
Read the synopsis.
Let's read the synopsis. Anyway, a young alien named Derek abandons his crew to search for a new life on Earth, while one of his crewmates is sent to find him as they attempt to eradicate human life in order to farm Earth with giant lobster-like livestock they call gargons.
Okay.
Giant lobster-like. They were lobsters. They used lobsters. They weren't lobster-like. They were lobsters.
And do you think those lobsters were alive?
That one was.
Okay.
That one was in the beginning that they had. It was almost in like a lobster net.
Yeah, they had a lobster, yes.
They actually had a lobster, and however they got like the silhouette, that was a lobster. Now, whether or not that was a live lobster or not, I don't know. But they're even talking about like binding its claws. I'm like,
I know.
yeah, like a lobster.
I think
Like
there might have been a man in a lobster
live
suit.
lobster in the supermarket, they have those rubber bands. Yeah,
They do.
Like not like a lobster, they were lobsters.
They have to bind them up.
Anyway,
I know someone that bought a fresh crab at the Chinatown and it got away on the subway. I'm not lying. I'm not making that up.
Is this going to end like one of those alligator stories, like when they used to get the little baby alligators? Is this going to be like a new horror crab instead of gator or something like that? And then the crab just starts wreaking havoc on.
Crabs are just harder to animate. Those alligators look
yeah,
more
crab would
easy
be
to
kind
fake.
of a boring creature to animate, I would suppose. So anyway, the film is directed, written, produced, and edited by one Tom Graeff. Is that Graeff? I guess.
Yep.
That's how you pronounce his name.
Says
So
Bill is
directed,
Tom.
written, produced, and edited by Tom Graeff. Pitching Bugs Bunny, catching Bugs Bunny, first base Bugs Bunny, second base Bugs Bunny, shortstop Bugs Bunny, third base Bugs Bunny. That's a reference to an old Looney Tune. Look it
George
up.
might get that one.
George may get that one. You got it eventually, didn't you?
I did. I knew.
That's the old Peppa. Anyway.
Did you read much about this guy?
Oh my gosh, this guy. Actually, I'm going to say one thing before. I mean, it was a ridiculous movie.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make fun of this, using air quotes, special effects here. Mm-hmm. But he did it on a $20,000 budget. Now, granted, I know $20,000 went a long way in 1958, 59 when he filmed it.
Mm-hmm.
But it really, for that budget, he actually did what he had to work with.
Yeah.
He actually did a pretty good job on it. He actually was quite brilliant as a filmmaker. He was a graduate of UCLA Film School.
Okay.
The idea for this movie came about when he worked as an assistant to Roger Corman on Not of This Earth. And so he decided, hey, I'm going to do my own science fiction movie. And he wrote it, and he got an investor to invest in it, $5,000. That'll come up later in the story. So he films this. He films this thing on $20,000, and it gets released in a double feature with Gigantus the Fire Monster or Godzilla Raids Again. It was the second movie in the Godzilla series. It was actually at that point, I think, a 3 or 4 year old movie in Japan, and then finally they edited it and dubbed it in English and all that stuff. So it was released as a double feature with this movie. And what happened was that one of the people who put money up for the film was a British actor named Brian Pearson, and he put up $5,000 in exchange for playing the villain Thor. The film was profitable, but Graeff and his investors saw no money, and Pearson eventually sued Graeff to get his original investment back. The judge agreed to give him, he got back the original $5,000, but he said there was no profit. And then suddenly, Roger Graeff starts calling himself Jesus Christ II.
What?
Yes. Do you not know this part of the story?
I don't.
He starts calling himself Jesus Christ II, and that God had shown him truth and love. A second ad appeared on Christmas Day and listed several sermon dates that he was going to give at local churches.
And this is 1960?
1959.
59.
The same year the movie came out.
Oh, wow. That went fast.
The next year, Graeff filed to have his name legally changed to Jesus Christ II. After opposition by the Christian Defense League, the petition was denied.
What? That's bullshit.
And then basically he left Hollywood, went to the East Coast. He returned to Los Angeles in 1964 and worked as an editor on David Hewitt's 1964 ultra-low budget film, The Wizard of Mars. and that was his final film credit. Although what they didn't mention in his bio was that he also opened a landscaping business, and he called it Jesus Christ II.
Did you making that up?
No, it's hand to God. It's true. And
Wow.
Yes, Tim, I'm making it up. Hey, if they can have an offensive episode of the Great British Bake Off that's offensive to Mexicans, I'm just keeping with that theme this week. Jesus Christ II, Landscape and Design. It was the name of that.
Okay, I can't get past that the church stopped him from changing his name. That's ridiculous.
Yes, the Christian Defense League. Yes, was founded as a white supremacist activist organization in California, and it later moved to Louisiana.
I didn't quite know that.
Well, now this is something I just learned. According to the Anti-Defamation League, it also had a paramilitary function and stopped Richard Grafe.
Are they still around?
It says was founded.
They're still around. They were watching British Bake Off that week.
They were watching
loving it.
It doesn't say anything about it ending. Just they moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where the paramilitary activity continued.
Now,
because
that's amazing.
Forced out of.
And I did not read about him because I sent you a little note to warn you who I did read about, which is the actor who plays he's in charge of the space mission.
Yes.
Played by.
He doesn't have a name. He's just called Spaceship Captain.
But his real name is King Moody.
King Moody.
What a name.
Would you like to talk about King Moody's credits?
Yes, King Moody. You all know from 1969 to 1985, he was Ronald McDonald on TV. He was the Ronald McDonald, the top Ronald McDonald.
Yes. Not somebody who claimed to be Ronald McDonald.
Oh, did you read what I read?
I read what you sent me. There's some guy out there claiming to be Ronald McDonald. Why would you claim to be Ronald McDonald? I have no clue.
Well, did you read? His name is Joe Maggard.
Yes.
And there seemed to be little documentaries about him online, but they've all been yanked down, I think, by McDonald's. Did you find one that worked?
I didn't. No, I couldn't find one.
From what I read, he kind of played
you don't screw with Mattel.
No,
never use Barbie in anything. They trust me. Disney
what were you doing?
or McDonald's. Well, the Pleasant Rowland, who owns the Aurora Inn, who I work for, who created the American Girl dolls, who sold them to Mattel. Oh, I know all about Mattel shenanigans.
You've been putting your Barbie dolls in the front yard again.
Well, since New York Times bestselling author and friend of the show, George O'Connor, not only were my Little Ponies covered in olive oil and positioned in sexually explicit positions. Yes. You didn't think I'd see that, did you, George O'Connor? I saw it. My Barbies are gone. And somebody, again, I'm guessing, New York Times bestselling author and friend of the show, George O'Connor, left the Ken doll behind, and he must have brought a G.I. Joe, and it looks like they're having anal sex. Thank you, George. Thank you, George. I would like the key to my apartment back.
But those dolls are not anatomically correct, so I don't know how George managed that.
Oh, he managed. Let's get back to the movie here. So
let me explain that Joe Maggard.
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
I believe he played a replacement Ronald one afternoon for something. And ever since then, he's like, I was Ronald McDonald. I played Ronald McDonald, and McDonald's is like, oh no, you didn't.
Like actually Adam McDonald's restaurant. Like he probably did something.
He was like a replacement for one day.
And it probably wasn't even a company-owned store. It's probably like a franchise.
He's run with it. So I want to find this documentary. Some madman who wants to be Ronald McDonald. I'm sure it pays well, but it doesn't pay well if you're just pretending.
Oh, I'm sure King Moody made more money off of playing Ronald McDonald than he did anything else. Like Flo the Progressive Lady. We've talked about this before. Flo the Progressive Lady, the Progressive insurance commercials. She's laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
Do you know who the highest paid television personality in the 70s was? Have I asked you this before?
Was it the
It
woman?
wasn't B. Arthur. It wasn't B. Arthur as Maud. Let me just.
Well,
let me
was
give
it
you
the
that
woman
little hint.
who would sell the coffee? What was her name?
Oh, Mrs. Olson?
Yeah.
Folgers Coffee? No.
No. Am I
Think
close?
about it. Okay, no, it is a commercial. It is somebody who did it.
Oh, the Charmin guy?
Mr. Whipple, please don't squeeze the Charmin.
I got it on the second guess. What do you know?
Of course. Well, we're going to say third guess because I knew you were going to say B. Arthur as Maud, so I just automatically. Okay, I'll give you 2 guesses, Tim. There you go. Yes, apparently, Mr. Whipple, he'd work 8 days a year and made the equivalent in today's dollars of like $8 million a year.
But not a Christian man. He worked on Sunday. So I hope America knows that. Not a Christian man. And for the people who don't know what we're talking about, he was a guy who sold toilet paper. And he guarded the toilet paper because people wanted to squeeze it.
To squeeze it because soft. It was so squeezably soft, yes.
It's all these perverts
like,
in the 70s.
You don't squeeze the Charmin, you use it to wipe your ass.
Yes, that's what he would say to them.
That's what he'd say. That was his catchphrase. Don't squeeze the Charmin, use it to wipe your ass. And they said, wait. This commercial's going to be shown in the afternoon. Children might be home watching it. Could you say maybe, I don't know, please don't squeeze it. And then in the end, Mr. Whipple would be squeezing the Charmin.
Oh, he did.
And pleasuring himself. But anyway.
People had problems in the 70s. That was one of the big ones.
Yeah, no, he was, seriously.
I think they found him in a van with Charmin in front of a schoolyard. Yep.
Pleasuring himself.
Yep.
And he could never run for public office in Maricopa County, Arizona again.
That's why people today don't know about him, don't know his name. There you go, history. I just wanted to say there was another Ronald McDonald called George Voorhis. I wish his name were just one letter different, Voorhees.
Right,
For Friday the 13th.
I was going to say, this does sound, did he wind up being a serial killer? He wound up being a serial killer, didn't he?
Well, he was only 69 to 70. Like, he was an extra Ronald in Southern California. He introduced
kind of like the
Mac.
George Lazenby of Ronald McDonald's.
Wow, people are getting that reference.
They might. They may get it.
One of his clown characters was called Mr. Pockets, and I don't think that's right. That was George Voorhees.
Mr. Pockets. Oh, he said, as my mother would say, he sounds like a toucher.
Yes. All right. I just had to talk about this. I went down a big McDonald's hole. Well, let's get off the McDonald's.
Yes. So, we went down, and we got to get back to Teenagers from Outer Space because we only have,
15 minutes left.
At most 19 minutes to talk about it. But it's okay. We can do it. So anyway, this spaceship lands outside Los Angeles. Well, excuse me. No, it's Anytown, USA. It was actually filmed in Hollywood. We don't know exactly where it was, but it's obvious that it's Los Angeles.
I can tell it's California because I think I spotted an elevator.
Yeah. Definitely. So, of course, you have King Moody and former Ronald McDonald playing the ship's captain. You have the aforementioned Brian Pearson playing. Okay, so Brian Pearson and the
David
other
Love?
character.
His name is David Love, the main
David
kid.
Love. Yeah, they were cast. Tom Grafe was having a pool party, and he called it an audition, and all the guys had to come to the pool party in thongs, and that's how they got the parts.
Oh, okay.
And because their characters' names are, such straight men names, Thor and Derek. Can I tell you how many Thors and Dereks I went home with in gay bars in the 80s and 90s? I'm going to stop right there.
How about some Odins?
Just in case kiddies are listening, we'll just leave it at that. And actually, yes, David Love, his real name was Charles Robert. Oh my gosh, I can't even read my Cultaholler.
I copied him down, but yeah.
He also went as Chuck Roberts. And the only other two movies I could find that he ever did were also both done by Tom Grafe. One was called The Orange Coast College Story, which was 20 minutes. It was a recruiting film. And apparently Vincent Price narrated it because he was friends with the advisor.
Wait, what did you call it?
The Orange Coast College Story.
Okay.
Apparently, Orange. It was a recruiting film for Orange Coast College.
Oh, I see.
And then he also did an 8-minute film called Island Sunrise. So I figured it out. Teenagers from Outer Space was 86 minutes. The Orange Coast College story was 20 minutes. Island Sunrise was 8 minutes. In total, he had a film career of 134 minutes that I can find. This was the only film he was billed as David Love. Something happened to that. Something happened to that pool party slash audition is all I'm.
I looked him up and I couldn't find anything more about him.
No, that's
David
all.
Love.
That's all. Unless he dubbed one of the English voices in Gigantus, the Fire Monster, aka Godzilla Raids Again. So they land on Earth because they have these lobster-like creatures called gargons. They were lobsters, and they need to breed these gargons because they're an alternate food source for them. Yep. But apparently they're so vicious, like they want them as far away from their planet as possible. Yes. So they decided Earth's atmosphere is just perfect to raise the gargons. The only thing is that they eat, they're going to grow and grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
So anyway, along comes Sparky the dog. Poor Sparky.
Yeah.
Poor Sparky.
This is the only and best special effect they have.
Yeah. Poor Sparky. He's barking. He or she, I think he's a he, is barking at the flying saucer, and they pull out a ray gun and vaporize him, and all that's left is his skeleton.
But it's a great effect because they take the camera away from the dog, and then when they go back, it's like it's a skeleton falling apart. It just
collapses. And I rewound it a couple times. I couldn't see any strings or anything.
Huh. Well,
so I mean,
it's magic.
Again, more power to
Jesus
Mr.
Christ
Tom
II.
Grafe to Jesus Christ II. There we go. We'll refer to him as Jesus Christ II.
I think he'd be upset if we didn't call him by his new name, legal name.
Well, he committed suicide by carbon monoxide asphyxiation on December 19th, 1970. So
why didn't you tell me this, John, so I don't make jokes
because
about
you're always saying that I always bring it down with a sad story, and I already talked about the late great Miss Loretta Lynn, aka the Crisco lady, who is no longer with us. I didn't want to talk about two deaths in the same podcast, Tim. Yeah, after he worked as the editor on The Wizard of Mars.
David Love decides, the dog has a tag. He's like, there's people here. And I guess he's supposed to be a revolting teen. He's like, look, we can't do this. There's people here.
Right. There's people here. There's intelligent life forms. He thinks the dog is the most intelligent life form, but still there are intelligent life forms just the same.
Now here, I want to know if I blinked. Oh, yeah. I want to know if I blinked because David Love, Derek, the revolting teen, he's also like, I don't like your ways. I've read this book. And do they ever show us what this book is at any time in the movie?
It looks like a little pocket Bible, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They never say what the book is.
He's like, I read this book. This is how things should be. You guys are.
Maybe if Tom Grafe had more than a $20,000 budget, we could have gotten more into that.
Well, he didn't even show it to us, so I'm just making sure. I didn't know what this book was.
The McCarthy hearings had just ended. Maybe you just couldn't get too political or too philosophical on these things.
Yep.
Maybe there was going to be a sequel where the book was going to be explained.
That's what we'll get to that. That's
Jesus
why I'm pointing
Christ
this out.
II was going to explain it. Yeah.
I'm setting up my own
That was maybe
jokes.
part of his sermon before the Christianity Defamation League, a.k.a. right-wing paramilitary group, shut him down. Maybe that was what his sermons were about. What was in that little book in Teenagers from Outer Space. And to this day, if he had caught on, church youth groups to this day would still be watching Teenagers from Outer Space.
They'd be whispering, that book's the Bible.
That book's the Bible. It's reading the Bible. So basically he finds the girl and her grandfather who owns Sparky.
Gramps Morgan,
played by Harvey B. Dunn, also known as the man with the missing finger. Because did you notice when he goes to shake hands?
Yeah.
the index finger is missing. And I had to remind him, is that guy missing it? Is that guy missing an index finger? And sure enough, he was. And as a matter of fact, if you look up Mr. Harvey B. Dunn's biography on Wikipedia, he talks about how Dunn is often identified by his missing index finger on his right hand. Called the man with the missing finger by such periodicals as the Times records, Dunn lost his finger at age of 13. Dunn became so tired of explaining how he lost his finger. Initially, he would lie and say it was run over by a steamer or it had been nipped off by a woodpecker. Finally, he had a card printed that explained his loss. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this in my best folksy, warm voice that I can.
Okay.
The story of my finger getting cut off, July 18th, 1908. Caught in a cogwheel of a printing press at the Press and Decoding Office in Yankton, South Dakota, while working around the press. Attendant physician Dr. Morehouse, I did not sue for damages. I can write well, just as well now, if not better, than before the accident. The stub of the finger has a tendency to melt in summer and freeze in winter. I swear this is a true statement. To the best of my knowledge, sincerely yours, Harvey B. Dunn. That's the best I could do off the top of my head. I was going to try to make, I wanted to be more like, Pepperidge Farm, remembers like the Pepperidge Farm, or like a townsfolk in Cabot Cove on Murder, She Wrote.
Right.
But I just couldn't pull it off. So I wound up becoming more kind of like Mr. Foghorn Leghorn.
I did. I noticed that.
Anyway, sorry about that. I just didn't. I didn't. I failed you miserably on that.
No, you didn't.
Anyway, we did.
So he follows the dog tag to Betty's house. Her name was Betty, right?
Mm-hmm.
She lives with Gramps
Betty,
Morgan.
yes.
And basically stumbles his way. They're like, "You're looking for a room? We got a room." He's like, "Okay." And he's one of those people.
Yeah. He rents a room and has no money and does not have a job, and they do not know who he is, and he's wearing this weird uniform.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, sure. Come stay with us."
And Thor, is it Thor who hunts him?
Thor hunts him down. He gets the directions from the gas station attendant.
Yes.
He shows him the dog tag. And then later, Thor is walking into town, and some guy picks him up. I think it was a gay pickup myself. A gay pickup that is going to eventually go to... No, did you see the way that driver was looking up? He was looking Thor up and down. He wanted Thor to lay his hammer down.
Hop in. I'll give you a lift. Lift? Well, it's a long way into town. Okay, it's all right with me.
Yeah. Anyway, so he goes, "Oh, well, I've got to get gas." And he's explaining to him how the car works, because Thor is always, "Well, what's that? And what's that?" And so eventually they go to the same gas station. The guy goes, "Well, there was a feller here with the same uniform you had on." They're like, "Well, where did you send him?" Thor has some anger management issues, I must say. And he winds up vaporizing
everybody,
the driver and the gas station. So this is the start of the skeletons. And apparently I read where it was the same skeleton.
Oh, I could tell. Yes, I was going to say.
It was the same skeleton.
You could see the metal screws holding it together if you look closely.
Especially when they do a murder later, yes.
But I did want to back up because of your gay pickup line, because when Derek revolts at the beginning, they make him lay down, and they're like, "I'll go get the chains. You get the leather straps," or something like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah. I'm telling you, Tom Grave had a pool party / audition.
I know.
where the actors are. How do you feel about wearing a thong bathing suit? And we're going to change your name to David Love.
Which leads us to the next part, because not only do they give this guy room, Betty, the daughter, is like, "I'm going to a pool party. Want to come along? My boyfriend can't make it because, her boyfriend is a reporter." And he's like, "Somebody saw a UFO. I got to go interview them right away.
Yes.
This is important news."
Yeah. Yes.
I think I go to the pool.
Joe Rogers, played by Tom Lockyer, who is actually Tom Grafe, who directed, wrote, produced, edited, and played Joe Rogers in it. Pitching Bugs Bunny, catching Bugs Bunny, first base Bugs Bunny, second base Bugs Bunny, third
That's why
base Bugs Bunny, shortstop Bugs Bunny.
That's why he was the reporter. Now he's looked tired. He was doing everything.
He was doing everything. No wonder why he went over the edge. No wonder why he started thinking he was Jesus Christ the Second. Sleep deprivation, man. Sleep deprivation will do it to you.
But they go to this swim party, and this part is also. Are you going to be upset about the same thing I was upset about? He's like, I don't got swim trunks. I don't have swim trunks. And the girl at the party's like, well, you can wear my dad's. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
no, what's going on? And yeah. And I think she offered him her brother.
I thought there was going to be like, I thought there was going to be kind of a little more male erotic, Mr. John Hamill and Trog kind of situation.
Yeah, you're right. I'm surprised that none of them were like took their shirt off at some point to fight.
Yeah, and speaking of no teenagers being in this movie, Alice, the friend. I mean, they didn't even try to cover up the fact that she wasn't a teenager. She looked like she was about 35.
You mean the woman in the pool?
Yeah. Alice. That was it. Alice Woodward.
They kept her in the pool, so you couldn't.
Well, my parents and the servants are off today, so we've got the place all to ourselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thought we were watching.
Can we give too much away that we say that Alice becomes a skeleton too?
In the pool.
When Thor, still tracking down Derek, goes to the pool and Alice threatens to call the police, and he just vaporizes her. And they do kind of have the boiling water.
Yeah.
Like, I know they must have thrown some dry ice in there or something.
I think
like the steam's coming off the pool.
I think he was killing anyone who hit on Derek, because like pretty much everyone was hitting on Derek, even Gramps.
Because he was pissed.
Gramps was
he was pissed. He didn't have time to put the leather straps on him. Interrupted his whatever you want to call it.
Oh. We're not as late as you think. So I want to quick.
No, I got 46 minutes and 6 seconds.
I want to get in. This is like that. Will you indulge me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Since King Moody was in this movie, I have the four.
Oh, you can get past the Ronald McDonald guy, can you?
The 4 ways that this movie is like McDonald's. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
What slaughterhouse workers say to the cow at McDonald's, they make into burgers, and what Thor says to his assistant were the same thing. Guard him, I will get the straps. That's what he said. I forgot, that was the line. Guard him, I will get the straps.
Guard him, I will get the straps.
Second way this movie's like McDonald's. These aliens want to release Gorgons on the Earth so they can grow to gigantic sizes. And the McDonald's Corporation want to release McDonald's franchises all over the Earth so people will grow to gigantic sizes. Wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah.
I was going to leave that one out.
That's pretty good.
The third way.
That's pretty good. No, it's pretty good.
The third way this movie's like McDonald's is, in this movie, we see a lot of skeletons, but McDonald's keep all their skeletons in the closet.
Literally. That's why you need a key to get the mop bucket out of the closet, because you don't know what else is in that closet.
And the fourth way, Grandpa from this movie ate at McDonald's every day before his 4-hour nap. And this movie felt like it was 4 hours long. I'm sorry, that joke doesn't make sense because we didn't even talk about the fact that in this movie, Grandpa seems to always be taking a nap.
Yeah, he does.
When we meet him, he wakes up.
He does.
When they're killing...
It's got something to do with that little stump of a finger that melts in the summer and freezes in the winter, I do declare.
Yes.
Tires him out.
That was a bad... Anyway, let's move on.
So let's move on here. So, so basically, like, people are getting zapped, and 2 cops get zapped and killed, and Thor gets shot.
That's right.
And then they take him to the doctor, and the doctor's like, well, I'm on my way to a house call. And Thor's like, don't sedate me, or whatever he says, because he's just they got to get the bullets out of him. And
he does pass out.
Eventually, like, just from the pain, Thor passes out. And they, like, just leave him there.
Right.
And then they get to wherever they're getting to. Are they going back to the police station? I can't remember.
Yes.
And suddenly the doctor goes, oh, wait. My nurse is going to show up for office hours.
It's like a sitcom.
I forgot. I have left an unconscious wounded alien with a disintegration ray. Why they just didn't take the disintegration ray away from him?
And they even try to call her, like, and don't revive him. And
don't revive him.
She's
well,
like,
I've already bandaged him and treated. Well, there you go.
It's my Hippocratic oath. I must revive wounded aliens.
I must revive wounded aliens. I didn't know he had a disintegration, right?
Does he shoot her too?
So they go out.
I forget.
So and then I can't remember where this fits in. I can't remember if this was before or after, but Joe the reporter, played by
the director,
Mr.
Jesus Christ II.
Played by Jesus Christ II. Was he a cop? Mac? Yeah. Takes him out to the cave. Now, I thought we were going to have like another, like, Trog, Night of the Lepus,
right,
going into the cave. And Joe even had his camera. I thought it was going to be like, Trog, where they just took the picture.
Yeah.
But no, he just hears the screams of Mac, because apparently $20,000 doesn't go that far to filming caves. And so basically, yeah. So like the big lobster's coming out and is going to come and attack the city. And Thor forces the nurse. He takes control of her car and he pushes her out, or she comes out of the passenger side and rolls on the road. She's fine. And then Thor gets ejected from the car when it tumbles down the cliff.
Right.
And so he's off to the general hospital where he's also going to be arrested on murder charges.
He's going to the hospital.
And they can't find the disintegration ray.
Disintegration ray.
Which they find under a rock. Now, how it wound up under the rock, I have no clue. Did Thor have the presence of mind to put it under the rock? Anyway, the disintegration ray is not working.
No.
The giant Gargon is going to is on the northeast limits of the city, on his way in.
Yeah.
And they get out there, and Derek decides that he's going to use the electrical wires on the poles, and that's going to be enough energy source. So he has Dawn call the power plant. There's like a little phone there to connect her. And the guy operating the power plant really doesn't seem to have any question about it. He's like, yeah, sure, I can give you more power. Sure, I can do it. I can increase the circuit. I can make the generator go faster. He's just like, so long story short, Derek kills the Gargan.
Yes, with all that electricity. It powered the disintegrator.
And, yes, and then
what a death scene.
The spacecraft comes back. Oh, and it turns out that Derek is the son of the leader.
And John,
apparently, you don't know who your parents are when you're raised there.
And I wrote this before you even told me about the director's biography. I got a note here. Is this movie a Jesus allegory? Because Derek is the son of the great leader.
Great leader.
Know him.
They come to Earth. Everybody thinks that Derek has decided to join forces with his people again, but actually he's setting a trap for them.
Yo, that's right. Just like Jesus did.
He gets into the spaceship.
And
Jesus did this right before the Garden of Gethsemane. Yep. Nobody knows this, and they didn't put it in the Bible. And he says, "Father, can I radio in the craft?" And they're like, "Yes." And all of a sudden, they hear the hatch locking, and he's telling the other craft, "Pick up your speed, because the faster they come in, they're going to collide."
Right.
And they do, and there's this big explosion, and everybody's killed.
Did you see the explosion?
And I didn't write down what the exact line he said. "I will never leave this earth. I will always be a part of it," or something like that.
He died too, and he appears in the sky. His face and Betty
his face appears in the sky, and he does that voice, much like
Jesus did.
You would have a picture of Jesus, in the clouds. Yeah. You're right. That is quite a Jesus allegory.
Because Jesus killed his father. I like that.
Yeah. Did he? Oh, I must have missed that part. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you're getting scared. Tim's talking about the Bible. I'm going to stop. No, you look scared.
It wasn't that little book.
All right. Well, we went through the movie kind of fast. Grandpa took a lot of naps. Grandpa's hair was never combed very well because he was
and his finger never grew back. That would have been a great plot twist.
Yes.
Like Derek and his race of aliens could have regenerated the finger or something.
I'm being distracted by my notes.
Anyway.
I think his last words were "Death must come to all." I think that I wrote that down. I think that's what he said.
Was that what he said?
And he kept showing that book. He kept showing that book to people, and we never saw it. He showed it again and again. I think it was the Quran.
Well, it was the Quran.
I think that's what it was.
That's why they couldn't show that in 1959 Hollywood. It was the Quran. That's exactly what it was. No, here's what he said. I shall make the earth my home. I shall never, never leave it.
Okay. I wonder why I wrote death must come to all. That's on my to-do list, I guess.
Death must come to all is on your to-do list. Try calling me the Eggman again. Okay.
But it's quiz time.
I'll call it
The BIMCO
SETI Q&A.
Brain
I'll
Twister.
answer quizzes. I
Theme
love
song.
it.
Do you like quizzes, John?
I do love quizzes.
Brainstorm.
I'll call it SETI Q&A.
Brain Twister. The BIMCO. I love quizzes.
Answer.
The BIMCO.
I'll call it
Theme song.
No.
So I heard you had an extra question, but you want me to do my question first? Or I don't know.
Do your question first.
The first question, because we thought we were being too mature with the fart thing, is who in this movie was voted most likely to become CEO of an elevator company? So I wrote Grandpa. Grandpa in the movie who was missing his finger. He was missing his finger in this movie. He was missing his finger from his days climbing the ladder to become an elevator company CEO. Everyone was like, hey, why are you climbing the ladder to the top when you should be taking the elevator to the top? Climbing the ladder makes it look like you're supporting Big Ladder. We want to build elevators and put the ladder companies out of business. So in order to show his loyalty to Big Elevator and how much he was sorry for climbing ladders, he symbolically cut off his elevator inspecting finger. And without it.
Is that
Yeah.
Because the right index finger is also known as the elevator inspection finger. Yes, that is common knowledge. Yes.
And without this finger, his career was tough, but eventually he became an elevator CEO where he took 4-hour naps after eating a McDonald's. There you go.
Okay. Well, my first question was going to be, would you like your Gargan boiled in a pot, grilled, or served as Gargan Newburg in a lovely cognac cream sauce? And actually, I have had it before.
Okay.
And, of course, I've got to pick boiled.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we'd do the New England clam bakes when I lived on Cape Cod, worked there summers, we would have we'd have it all such ago. We'd have our corn and our potatoes and our clams and our mussels, and we'd have them around the fire all such ago. And then what we'd do is we'd have a disintegration ray, and we'd sit there in the sand dunes and wait for a giant Gargan to come over the sand dune, and then we'd zap it with the disintegration ray, and then we'd put it in the pot.
Okay.
And have ourselves a good old-fashioned New England Gargan clam bake.
But wouldn't it be a skeleton if you zapped it?
Well, you just gave it a
Okay.
you just gave it a little boop.
All right.
You didn't do it full blast like Thor would. He'd be like, boop. You just do a little boop.
Well,
it takes a while to master just the right amount to use.
Well, I like that because boiling them alive is cruel. So I think
It is good eating though.
you can taste.
You've never
you can
boiled
taste
a
the
live
pain.
lobster?
No, I'm just saying it's the cool way.
You'd never boil. Oh, that makes it so delicious.
Oh.
They don't know what hit them. You've never boiled a live lobster before?
I've been present when it happened.
Oh, so you're complicit in it.
Yes.
Did you eat the lobster?
Yes.
Well, see, there you go, Tim. Don't get off your high horse.
I'm just saying.
Just because I actually physically threw the lobster in the pot
I'm just saying.
does not make me any less of a person than you. Because Is this like Leslie Van Houten? Like I only stabbed
Yes.
her after she was dead. So you were like the Leslie Van Houten of the New England clan.
That's what they call me.
You didn't actually.
When I show up.
You didn't actually put the living lobster in the boiling water, but you stood around while it was going on.
They call me Leslie.
They called me Leslie.
LVH. They call me LVH.
LVH. Ooh, hashtag LVH.
Hashtag
Maybe
George
then we can
O'Connor.
get some
Look her
listeners.
up. Learn about the 60s.
Does he still not know who Leslie Van Houten is? I thought he would have figured that out by now.
Okay, well, now I have who would be most likely to have a podcast. So I was going to say, you want to go? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go
All
first.
I was going to say, if King Moody does not have a podcast about his years of being Ronald McDonald, then he must be dead. And I found out, yes, he's dead.
He is dead.
But if he did have it, he would call it King Clown, spelled with a K.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his son or daughter should have a podcast about their father being Ronald McDonald and call it Kid Moody, the story of my father, the King Clown. And his son or daughter would tell tales they would tell stories about their father. Because he would say Stephen King stole the clown idea in the sewer from him, as he used to hide in the sewer, dressed as Ronald McDonald, and eat Kentucky Fried Chicken so that nobody saw him. And he often fought off rats just to eat his fried chicken in the sewer. He would also talk about the time he showed up to audition for the movie They Shoot Horses, Don't They? In full Ronald makeup because he thought it was a film about how they made McDonald's hamburgers. He didn't get the part. He did get to meet Jane Fonda, though, because Ronald McDonald was very pro-Vietnam War, and thus they did not get along. So there you go.
That is true. I do remember the McDonald's commercials from that. Hey, kids, let's go and kill the Viet Cong. I do remember that in those old McDonald's commercials.
More lessons for the young kids out there. So, what was yours? Give it to me.
I thought it would be, I don't know if he'd be going by Chuck Roberts or David Love, but he would be doing a podcast about the art of, or is it an art or is it a craft of film acting? He would be, and of course he would draw heavily on his 134-minute film career to lure his listeners in and give them helpful tips on how to play an alien.
Yeah.
Speak in a monotone. Recruit people to go to a college.
Okay.
That's all I got.
My mind is racing.
He didn't go into any sewers, and he didn't eat any Kentucky Fried Chicken. He didn't go audition for a Jane Fonda movie. Sorry.
He might have.
Maybe
he's not.
I don't even know if he's alive or dead. They have like a date of birth.
Maybe he went to Vietnam, John.
1934. Is he dead? Is he alive?
We're going to find out.
What obituary? Would we be looking for David Love's obituary? Would we be looking for Chuck Roberts' obituary? Would we be looking for Charles Robert Cultahaler? Whose obituary would we even be looking for?
I know.
All right.
I blanked out on my yes and. So which character or characters would most likely have a spin-off TV show? You get me going. Did you do one?
Well, I picked Sparky the dog.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Not so much that it was like a spin-off show, but if you ever saw the movie A Dog's Life or are aware of the movie A Dog's Life, it's all about this spirit of this dog that keeps reincarnating and reincarnating. And I think that Sparky, after he met his tragic end in Teenagers from Outer Space, just kept on reincarnating. For a while, he reincarnated as Rin Tin Tin.
Oh, nice.
They had a live-action Saturday morning show. He got that part. And then, of course, he left this earthly plane. Then for a while, he was one of the Lassies. Yep. And his final role was as Tiger on the Brady Bunch, the dog that only showed up in the first season.
Oh. I remember Tiger.
Yeah, he had some addiction issues.
Yeah.
He had some addiction issues. He wound up being the dog of some guy who referred to himself as Jesus Christ II. And, got hooked on peyote, living out in the valley.
The dog.
And they kind of just sort of
So
they never actually wrote Tiger off the show. They just sort
They
of
had to fire him.
didn't mention him anymore. They just kept the doghouse back there. So it wasn't actually a spin-off. It was just kind of like what happened to Sparky's career every time he reincarnated.
Nice. Did Sparky maybe end up being Cujo after all those
possibly? Who knows? Who knows? I'll have to ask the lady who runs the shop that sells tarot cards and crystals.
Right.
She resides here in Auburn and sometimes on the third ring of Saturn, as she claims.
Okay.
And I will have to go down for another session with her. And
is she a real person?
we only got as far as Tiger on the Brady Bunch.
Right.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
I think she's milking me for some money. I think she could have told me all this in one reading, but I keep going back.
Well, I like your idea. So which character from this movie would have a spinoff? We had Betty and her grandfather.
Yes.
So here's my idea for a spinoff show. The characters. Betty and her grandfather. They have a sitcom spinoff. They are both obsessed with finding out what that book was that changed Derek's life because he never showed anybody. He always said, "This book changed my life." Wouldn't show them what the book was. So every week they read and talk about a book as they finally figure out this is the book. So one week, like, they'll go to the library and figure out it was Mein Kampf and get it out of the library, not knowing anything about what this book is about because it's a small town. And hilarity ensues, and their neighbors, think they're former Nazis, all that kind of stuff. And then another week, they feel...
It's Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard.
No, maybe. But another week, they feel pretty sure that the book was Lolita, and they get that book out of the library, reading it, not knowing what it was about.
Oh, my gosh.
And they almost get run out of town on a rail. And then there's the episode, they think the book was the Kama Sutra, and they buy that book not knowing what it was about, and... Grandpa has to have a 5-hour nap after reading that one. But the show got canceled and burned along with all the other books from the 50s.
Much like the Ropers.
Oh, that show would be called Reading Rainbow. There you go.
Would Geordie LaForge be on it? Excuse me, LeVar Burton. He gets pissed when you call him Geordie LaForge.
Well, I don't think he was born yet, but... So did you have a spinoff? Did you already? You told me yours.
No, I told you.
Wow.
I didn't really actually have a spinoff. I was just saying
Get with it, John. Get with it, John.
Well, I mean, how could I have topped that, Tim, anyway?
All right. This week, we got to read George's letter.
Okay.
Dear God. We're so behind.
It's a long letter. I think we should just devote an episode to George's letter.
Oh, I forgot how long George's letter is. I'm not reading this.
It's a very long letter. I think we might have to push it off till next time.
Really?
Yeah. I think so. I'm telling you, we just do a whole episode on this letter.
All right, George, we're going to read your letter next time.
Next time. And speaking of next time.
Yeah, I guess we got to go. Email us.
Yeah.
Email us
No.
at city. Well, I'm just going to. What? What's the matter?
Oh, I thought we were going to
Oh, yeah.
explain that I won't be here next week.
Oh, you're not here next week? What's
I'm not
happening,
here next
John?
week. Well, I don't want to jinx anything. I've
Okay.
got to go to Ohio for an audition.
Oh, all right. That's
Yeah.
right. And, okay. Well, I'll get...
New York Times bestselling author in front of the show, George O'Connor, will be filling in again.
I'll ask. I'll see if he'll do it. Who knows?
I hope so.
So Teenagers from Space, you got to pick two because we goofed up. And when you come back, we're watching. I got to tell you this, so people have a heads up. The Class of 1999. Do you know this movie?
I don't know.
It was
this
made
movie.
in, I believe, 90 or something, so it's in the future. And
Right.
it stars little brother from Teen Witch, Joshua John Miller.
Not Joshua John Miller.
So I picked it just because I was like, oh, here's one of the other two movies he was in. Sorry.
He's no David Love or Chuck Roberts, but anyway.
Next week, when I think George will fill in, we're going to watch an episode of the Spider-Man TV show from the 70s.
Oh.
Called The
animated show?
Oh, no, it was live action, John. It was This episode is called The Curse of the Haunting of the Cursed Kirkwood Mansion. It's called something
It rolls off the tongue.
So in the meantime, you should email us at SETIBIMCO with an E at gmail.com. You could tell us a story about high school if you don't want to be on the show, and maybe we'll read a little short story. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitter. SETIBIMCO's on Twitter, and we're on Instagram.
At SETIBIM.
At SETIBIM. SETI_BIMCO. Instagram. You can follow us and give us likes. Whew.
Please.
There we go. That's what we're doing next week. And you have anything else to say, John?
I think all's been said, Tim.
We've said everything. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
SETI BIMCO is a podcast by Tim Hamilton and John Kelly. Produced by Miss Lee. Music by Tim Hamilton. This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
We'll read his letter first one week.
Okay, yeah, maybe that would be. Maybe we do like a retrospective show.
Yeah.
Like, the relationship of George O'Connor to the SETI BIMCO show. And we'll just anything we ever cut out